Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and College Process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today we're going to be going over the step-by-step guide to filling out the Parent Plus loan application. What we're going to do here is go to this specific website right here, studentaid.gov. As you can see down below, I put the link of where you guys need to start to get to this website. But before we begin the application, you need to have a couple things with you. Number one, you have to have with you the parent's FAFSA login, also known as the parent's FSA ID. Without that, you cannot complete this form. Sometimes parents go in here thinking you can start off by using the student's FAFSA ID, the FSA ID for the student that you filled out the FAFSA form. That's not how you log in here. You need the parent's FAFSA login to be able to log in here. It's the first thing you need. Second thing you're going to need with you is also two references. You're going to need these two references after you finish this application to fill out what's known as the master promissory note, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, the two references cannot live in the same household, so you can't use your spouse or sibling, any of those things for the student. You have to use somebody who has a different address. Now, with that out of the way, if you have those things, let's move forward and start filling out the form. Now, once we're on the studentaid.gov site, what we need to do is go down here where it says parent. We'll click on that, and then it'll pop down here a couple more tabs. We want to click on the apply for a parent plus loan. Now, once we get down here, we're going to go down here a little bit further. And as you see down here, it's going to ask us to log in. Now we need to, once again, use the parent's FAFSA login. We'll click on login to start. And obviously down here, you have to plug in the parent's username and password. If you don't remember what your password is, or if you don't remember what your username is, very simple. Down here, click on forgot username. It's going to ask you for your email. Very simple steps to retrace and get back your username. If you know what your username is, or you want to use your cell phone number or email, because you know you use that for part of the creation of the FAFSA ID, very simple. If you don't know your password, go down here and then just click on forgot password. It's very simple steps to get either the username or the password. Now, let's say you have both. Very simple. Plug in the username up here, plug in the password down here, and then click on login, and we'll go to the next step. Now, for some of you, you're going to see this next step here, which is a two-step verification where they're going to send you a code, either to your cell phone number or to your email. I chose the cell phone number here, so they're going to send me a code. I'm going to plug the code in. Some of you may not have this step. It might just bring you onto the next page. But for those who do have this step, by the way, it's a new security measure by the U.S. Department of Education. A lot of you guys have to basically indicate, yes, I am the person, by giving the code to send to your cell phone or giving the code to send to your email, either one you choose. So now that we're now in the form, and now that you essentially have logged in, what you're going to see here is going to give you a couple of different information about your site, about where you're going into, so on and so forth. Right at the bat, you should see down here the parent's name. So if you see the student's name here, you automatically know that you're in the wrong application because of the fact that once you get us in the beginning, you don't log in using the student's FAFSA login, you use login using the parent's login. If you see the parent's name and you see the parent's social, the last four of the social down here, then you're in the right site. You're in the right application, let's call it. Kate down here, please make sure you don't have any credit freezes on your accounts. That way they can pull your credit to be able to see if you're eligible for the Parent Plus loan. So with those things out of the way, let's just go down here. We'll press continue and go on to the next. Now on this page here, what we're going to do is just fill out some basic stuff. So obviously for next academic year, we're going to click on the 23-24. So obviously fall 23, spring 24. Now, a lot of parents ask me, does it make sense to apply for the loans for the whole year or semester? I always tell parents, whether you're doing parent loans, state loans, private loans, no matter what the loan is, always take out the loan for the entire academic year, fall and spring. So we're going to indicate 23-24 here. We're going to go down. Now, what you're going to notice here is once you click on the select button, it already has your student's name in there. The reason it has your student's name in there is because your account is also attached to your student's FAFSA account. So when you logged into your student's FAFSA account and did their FAFSA, and then halfway through you added your parent ID, your FSA ID, it then basically linked the two accounts together in a sense. So right here, we'll click on select, and it'll have your student's name already basically there. And once you click on your student's name, what you'll see is it's going to pre-populate the stuff below. So the student's name's going to come up, the last name, the social, the birthday, all that stuff is already going to populate for you guys. So once you click on the name, we're just going to go all the way down to the bottom and then fill in the next section, which is the school section. Now, as you're going down through this here, if you do see any errors as far as, let's say you've moved and your address needs to change, obviously you can change your address. Or if you want to change the phone number here for the student, you can change that as well. But other than those steps, we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. And now down here at the bottom, we're going to choose the school we want these funds to go to, the Parent Plus loan funds to go off to. So when we get down to the bottom here, it's going to ask us where we want these funds to go off to. Which school do we want the Parent Plus to go to? So it's very simple. We'll go down here. We'll first start off by typing the state where the school is located. So let's just say that we're applying for a loan in a school for New Jersey. And what you'll see as I start typing in the word new, states start popping up. So you want to click on these states right here. Whatever pops up, click on that. But let's just say we're doing a loan for a New Jersey school, and let's just say we're doing it for Rutgers. And you can see the same thing happens when I start typing in the word Rutgers. So you want to click on Rutgers. And then what will happen is on the right-hand side, it's going to pop up indicating your loan, whatever loan you take out, the amount, so on and so forth, for this student is going to go off to Rutgers University. Once you're completed, the paperwork's going to go to them, indicating you're applying for a Parent Plus loan. So the next step here is just click on continue. So the next section here is going to ask us, essentially, it's going to start asking us numbers. What do you guys want? What are you looking to borrow, essentially? So we're going to go down a little bit here, and we have two options here. Now, the two options here is I want to borrow the maximum, or I want to borrow a specific amount. Now, the way it works is this. And of course, there is also the third option down here. I don't know what I want to borrow, but that's really one that you really shouldn't be clicking on no matter what. You should be clicking on one of these two right here. Now, let's say you've gotten the bill and you already know you need the exact amount you need. You can plug that amount here. Whatever that amount is, by the way, always add an extra 1,000 or 2, no matter what, just in case there's additional fees or things that pop up you didn't recognize or didn't know about. Now, if you're unclear of the exact amount you need, what I would do is click this one up here, which is asking the school essentially to choose the exact amount of loan funds you need from the U.S. Department of Education for the Parent Plus loan. I typically tell parents, if you're doing this for the first time, or if you're doing this multiple times, doesn't matter, I almost always go with choose the maximum amount of loan. Reason being is because it's going to give you the maximum amount you can take out. Now, if there is an additional amount of funds we don't need, we can always tell the school's financial aid office, basically call them after the loan goes in, if there's any refunds that we don't need or we won't be using, please send the money back. You can also, if you do get a refund, send that money back yourself to the lender, so it's up to you. But use it to kind of cover the bases of, not unfortunately taking a smaller amount than we need, then getting penalized later on because we had a balance due and we got late fees on top of it. Very simple way to kind of avoid this is either choose the maximum amount, or if you know exactly what you need, always take out an extra 1,000 or 2 just in case to cover yourself. So for me, I typically tell parents, let's go with a maximum. That's the way the school's going to choose how much we need to take out. And then we're going to go down a little bit further. And we're going to see down here, the next step is, it's already going to indicate to us, do we want to do the full-year loan, semester loan, so on and so forth. It always defaults, by the way, to the full-year loan. Just leave that alone. Just leave the full-year loan. We want to take out the full-year loan. Now, there might be some cases, obviously, where you just have one semester left and you're graduating. Then it's okay to change it to essentially the semester loan here. But if you're looking for the whole academic year, take out the loan for the whole academic year. And then we're going to go down here. And the next thing it's going to ask us is request for deferment. What this basically means is, are we looking to pay off the loan immediately, principal and interest every month as soon as the loan goes in, or do we want to hold off on the payments? Now, in my way of doing this is I typically tell parents, the way I look at it is, I'd rather hold off on the Parent Plus loan because usually this is a backup loan. So if you're looking to take out the student loan here, specifically the Parent Plus loan, as we mentioned before in the beginning of the video, this is usually like the 5th or 6th option you have. So if we've gotten to the point where we have to do this one, I usually say, let's hold off on the payments until we graduate. So I'm obviously indicating to both of these here, yes, I want to defer both the payment and also give me a 6-month grace period after the student graduates before I start paying back. And the reason I do this is because of the fact that most of you guys are taking out a Parent Plus loan. This happened for a few reasons. Obviously, I talked about this in the video here. I talked about in the beginning, you should be watching before you go through this process. But that being said, if we are taking out the Parent Plus loan for no matter what reason, the reality is many of us don't have the funds available to pay back this loan at this point in time, which is fine. However, I would be making any payments I could make while these loans are in deferment, especially the Parent Plus loan. Even if it's $50 a month you're sending or $100 a month, or maybe every 2 or 3 months you get some extra money, send that money off to the Parent Plus loan to keep reducing down the interest payments growing on themselves as well as the principal. The more you can send, the better, obviously. And by the way, there's no pre-penalty to paying down any of these loans, especially the Parent Plus loan, even if you indicate, give me the deferments. That being said, let's go to the next section here. Now, the next section down here is basically telling the federal government, the Plus loan people here, that yes, I authorize the school, by clicking this box here, to take the funds that I send to them, or this basically the U.S. Department of Education sends to them. Those funds, please utilize those funds to pay for education expenses. That's basically all you're doing by clicking this box down here. And then we're going to go down here to the bottom. And now down here, it's going to ask you if there is a balance, like I talked about in basically the beginning of this section here, the refund being generated. They're going to ask you essentially, do you want that refund to go to the parent, or do you want the refund to go to the student? Now, it's really up to you which one you choose here. It's not really that big of a deal, to be honest with you. For me, typically most of the time, I indicate to go to the student. Reason being is that there is a refund, the right to check directly to the student, or they're put into the student account. And then that way the student can use that refund money for essentially either housing or the books or any additional expenses that pop up, a laptop, so on and so forth. I click on student here. I'll go continue. We'll go on to the next page. Now, right at the bat here, most of you guys filling this out, we'll click on box number 1, which means the biological parent. Whether you're mom or dad, doesn't really matter. Now, if you guys are divorced or separated and you're wondering, well, does the parent who filled out the FAFSA have to fill out the Parent Plus loan? Doesn't work that way. The way it works is whether mom filled out the FAFSA or dad filled out the FAFSA and you guys are divorced or separated, and as you know, many of you guys know, if you're divorced or separated, you only fill out the FAFSA using one parent's information. You can use either parent, if you guys are biological parents, to fill out the parent plus loan application. So it doesn't matter who filled out the FAFSA to fill out the parent plus loan. That's out of the way there. Second, if you guys aren't the biological parent, let's say you're the adoptive parent, then you guys would click down here, indicating that we've adopted a student, and essentially I'm applying for this loan based on me being their adoptive parent. And then of course, the third option here is if you're the spouse of the adoptive parent. Now, let's say you don't fall into any of those categories. Let's say you're doing this as other, maybe the grandparent. Fortunately, they're not going to let you go forward with this. The reality is, unless you're the biological parent or the adoptive parent, they're not going to let you apply for the parent plus loan. So as you can see down here, once you can indicate other, automatically it's going to say, based on your relationship selected, you are not eligible to receive a parent plus loan. So you must be one of these three up here to be able to move forward with this form. Well, let's say we're the biological parent, which typically happens here. Next, we're going to see down here, some sections are already going to be filled out for us, by the way. Like down here, the citizenship question, this is the stuff you guys answered on the FAFSA form. Now, in the next section here, we're going to see within the address for the parent, we're going to see here is just double check your address, make sure it's correct. Most of you guys, it will be correct because they just pulled it right from the FAFSA. Then it has changed, obviously, and you can change it up here. But other than that, most of you guys will just click on this box here saying this is my current permanent address. So let's go to the next section. Now, the next section here is going to ask you about your employer. Now, let's see here, you guys aren't employed. And by the way, the parent plus loan doesn't care if you're employed or not, by the way, to be able to apply for it. All it cares about your credit score. So if you're not employed, you can always click on here in this little box right here, I am not employed, and move on to the next section. But if you are employed, obviously just plug in your employer information here and then click on the continue button. We'll move on to the next section. And now we're in section 4 right here. Section 4 is basically our chance to now authorize them to do the credit check. Now this section is very easy. Once again, it's going to indicate if you have a credit freeze on any information, please take off the credit freeze so they can do the credit run. Now that being said, we're going to go down a little bit here. It's going to ask us basically to check off 3 boxes. It's a very simple process here. So right at the top, it's going to indicate down here that we've read all the different notices, all the different acts, so on and so forth. I would indicate to all of you here, obviously click on each one of these here, read through these notices to get a better understanding of what's going on with the Privacy Act, with your information, with your credit being run, so on and so forth. So that way, just in case you have any questions specifically about what's going to happen when they basically run your credit and everything else, and also know the laws and rules and guidelines, you guys are well read in this information here. So we'll click on all these, we'll read through all these obviously here. And then once we've read through all these and understand what we've read, we'll click on I have read all the following important notices. Then we'll go down to the next section here. The next section here is basically indicating to the U.S. Department of Education, the people running this site here, to essentially allow them to say, yes, I understand what the Parent Plus loan is. I understand what I'm about to go through. I've read the notices, so on and so forth, to be able to allow you guys to pull my credit to see if I'm eligible for the Parent Plus loan. And then we'll click on the continue button here. And then the next section you're going to see here is the last section in this entire form, which is the review and submit section. Now, what you need to do is, the easiest thing you guys can do is just go through each one of these sections here pretty quickly, just run through them. Make sure the name, the address, the phone number, so on and so forth, emails, everything is correct. I'm going to basically go all the way to the bottom here and click on the submit button here to submit this, to allow this form, and then go through and do the credit check. All right, perfect. And we are done. Just that quick and easy. Simply here, now it's indicating here that the school will be notified. As you can see here, the Parent Plus loan was successful. The application went through, the credit was approved, and within 24 hours, you can see here, notified. Within 24 hours, the school will be notified that you have a Parent Plus loan out there waiting for you guys, so that way your bill is covered for the fall and spring. Now, with that out of the way, now you're probably thinking, okay, great, everything's done, I'm good to go. No, it's not the way it works. You still have one more step to fill out. So Parent Plus loan stuff is out of the way, everything is done. The second step you must fill out is what I talked about in the beginning, is having your references ready, because the second step you need to fill out is called the master promissory note. Now, to get to that form is very simple. What we do is go right over here to where it says loans and grants right here. And you go down a little bit to this section here where it says get a loan, and click on this loan right here, this form right here called the master promissory note, MPN. Click on that, and we're going to start the second part of getting the Parent Plus loan. Now, the second part of this is very simple as far as filling out the master promissory note. This is only going to take you guys maybe 10, 15 minutes on top of the filling out the Parent Plus loan form. So here on the next step, we need to go down to the third section. As you see here, there's 3 different forms you can fill out. If you fill out the Parent Plus loan, then we need to go down here to this start button. These 2 here do not apply to you. These 2 up here are for the students' federal direct loans. This is something completely different. This down here is we need to fill out for the Parent Plus loan for their MPN. So we'll click on the start button here. And when you start with the form, what you'll notice is right at the bat, it's already going to have stuff checked off for you, because once again, stuff gets transferred over from the FAFSA form. So we're going to, our citizenship information already been checked off. Our email or his cell phone number, etc., already going to be in there. So we're going to go down a little bit here. And essentially down here at the bottom, the only question it's going to ask us, all the information is already filled out, is Once again, is this your permanent address? So we'll click on this, once again, current permanent address, and then we'll move on to the next page. And the next page is gonna ask us about your employer. Now, once again, if you already typed this into the previous site, then obviously when you fill out the Parent Plus loan, it's gonna transfer this over. If you were unemployed, as I mentioned here in the beginning, if I had clicked on unemployed in the first section when I pull out the Parent Plus loan before, it also transfers over. So this information here is going to ask you once again who your employer is. But since you're already doing this right after doing the Parent Plus loan, you're going to see it's already going to transfer your employer information over. So it's very simple. We'll just click on the continue button. And the next section here, you're going to get in the NPN. It's going to be very simple. Again, just like you did on the Parent Plus loan, once you click on select here, it's already going to give you the option to pre-populate your student's information because it has that information based on you guys filling out the FAFSA form together. So we'll click on select and pre-populate the student's information in. You guys can do that on your side. Now, obviously, once I pre-populate my student's information, I go to the bottom of the page. The next section here is going to ask me, where is this information going to? What school? So once again, you guys will plug in the same school you plugged in when you did the Parent Plus loan application. So we'll plug in New Jersey, click on the New Jersey. Next thing is going to give me the option. I'll type in Rutgers. I'll click on Rutgers. Once again, the form will pop the information on the right, and I'll click on the continue button. And now in the next section here, we're going to see it's going to ask you, as I mentioned before, for 2 references. So you're going to basically start here by going to the bottom and clicking on the add the references. So let me go down, click on add reference. And then once I clicked on the add the reference box, what's just going to ask me now for the person's first name, last name, address, phone number, etc. So once again, the references can't be the same address where you or the student lives. So it has to be somebody else. And by the way, reference could be anybody. It could be uncles, aunts, it could be friends, relatives. I'll even click on here to show you. It could be grandfather, it could be neighbor, it could be teacher, it could be employer, it could be anybody, it could be other, it could be a friend. The reason they need this is basically the same reason they need references when you go to get a car loan or you go to get a mortgage. They're always going to ask you for references when you do any kind of loan stuff. So whoever your references are, put their first name, their address, so on and so forth in here, their cell phone number and their email, and click add. This way will let you add that information in, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to just add 2 references here while you guys are on your side there. Add your 2 references, and then basically I'm going to go to the next step. Once you guys have added your 2 references, you can move on with the video. Now, obviously, after adding and clicking on add 2 references, my 2 references pop up here. And by the way, you need 2 references. You can't do just one. You must have 2. I'm going to do now that I have my 2 references up here. I'll click on both the boxes here on the left. And then what I'll do is I'll click on the continue button to push forward the form to go to the next step. I may be wondering, the references, are they ever contacted? And the answer is no. They never contact your reference unless the borrower has not paid back their loan with at least 6 months or so of non-payment. So if you guys miss a payment or 2, you're perfectly fine. Usually after around the 3rd payment or so, that's when they start kind of moving forward with calling references and trying to figure out where you guys are if you guys aren't making payments. So don't worry about any of these people being contacted directly and be giving any of your financial information. That doesn't happen. Okay, so we're going to click on the continue button to move on to the next step here. All right, so the next section here is we're going to go through the agreements. Now, I'm not going to obviously read through all of these. These are actually 5 different pages of agreements, information, so on and so forth. But I would suggest you guys read through this so you understand what you're getting involved in as far as what the loan is, how it works, what do we need to do when we start paying it back, what if we can't start paying it back, who do we call. All this information is going to be in this agreement section coming up over the next 5 pages. So I'm going to go through each one of these basically and just continue because of the fact that I've already gone through these. And really, it's you need to be reading these to understand what you're borrowing. So we're going to go through these fairly quickly here and then basically go to the bottom of these 5 pages and essentially just go through and just pass on and go to the next section. But for most of you guys here, I would be reading through this because it has a lot of great information about your responsibilities, the loan's responsibilities, chargebacks, repayments, interest rates, so on and so forth. All the stuff is in these 5 sections here. Now, obviously, I've read through these because I've done thousands of these with parents, so I'm not going to read them again. These are things that you should be reading through, by the way. Okay. Now we go all the way through, and we're on page 4 now, explaining the loan process again. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom here. It's going to give you numbers, financials, and everything else. It's stuff you really want to be reading through: repayment structures, repayment schedules, so on and so forth. We're going to click continue here. And now we're on page 5. So it's basically the last page of this section here. And also at the end, you can also print out essentially a PDF of all of this, by the way. So we're going to go all the way down here to the bottom of this last page here. Deferments, forbearance, if we have any issues or if we have any issues paying back the loan, essentially. And here we got to essentially the last section here of review. So we've already filled out the whole form here, the master promissory note. All that's left now is go through and review everything. Same thing we did with the Parent Plus loan. Check your name, check your address, check your phone number, so on and so forth. All these things need to be checked to make sure everything is correct here. Essentially, after we reviewed everything, we're going to go to the bottom, click on the continue button. And now essentially you reach section 5. We're at the last section. We're going to submit the NPN now. So typically just attach that to the Parent Plus loan. So both forms are in. So that way you guys are completely done with everything as far as the Parent Plus application is concerned. So now if you want, you can click on here, preview draft of NPN. We'll print out a PDF or put it on your computer if you want to. So if you want to do that, click here. If you want to move on, submit the form, very simple. We're going to click on this box down here, indicating I certify or read everything, understand everything, so on and so forth. Then go down here at the bottom and type in the parent's name. Once you type the parent's name in, click the submit button. And then what you're going to see here on the final screen is that the NPN has been completed. So now you have everything done. There's nothing left to do and you guys are all set. Now, if you guys like this video, please leave us a like, as well as if you have any questions, leave the questions down below. Because once again, every Friday going forward, I answer all your questions and putting them back here on video format on YouTube. So that video, so everyone has answers to all their questions. As well as you guys need help in the financial aid process or the admissions process or any of this stuff, to be honest with you, please make sure you guys can reach out if you guys need help. That's my cell phone on the screen. The easiest way to reach me, guys, is to send me a text message. I do meet with families through Zoom on a one-on-one basis, consultations if you guys need help. And other than that, thank you guys for watching today's video. Once again, my name is Ed from Principia Prep.